Welcome back to Killer Fun, where we explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week. I'm Christy, and today, I am back with some more outtakes. We're still taking a brief hiatus. Thank you so much for that. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a fun, new, interesting, never before heard content for you, because we do. We have a few little outtakes from Lupin, Only Murders in the Building. We have our biggest disagreement. Jackie and I cannot see eye to eye. We're still really respectful of one another, but it is our biggest disagreement to date on this show. Home Alone and Christmas outtakes. So all of that is coming up. We're going to start off with just a few super short things from Lupin that didn't make it in the episode. And really, it's all flubs and mistakes and silly things. Enjoy. That was a weenie one.
It was a very weak snap. I even looked to go like,
really? You're like, did that even show up? It did a little bit.
A little.
But hardly.
But tiny.
Let's try it again.
There.
About 15% about 1 in 15 people. Mm-hmm. That's different than 15%.
Yeah. I wonder what causes that. Did they have any suggestions?
I think they talked about in this article, I believe. I haven't read it in a couple of days, and I didn't highlight that part. Perugia never even took possession of it.
Oh, interesting.
No, it wasn't Perugia. It was somebody else. All right, as promised, here is Only Murders in the Building. First, we talk about how my husband sometimes doesn't get the memes. I make some flubs. Why I carry mace. We talk about permission to use a victim story. How that there's some consternation about that. And as promised, we disagree over whether a child should bankroll a residence for a parent that they can no longer afford, and what situations might be appropriate for that and which ones may not be. So, like, for example,
okay.
there's a picture of a man dressed as a security guard or police officer, black guy, and he is like just kind of gesturing, and there's two photos, and Jesus coming back like, why aren't you loving your neighbor? I explicitly asked you to do it. And I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
And Josh is like, I don't understand why that's funny.
Well, it's not silly. It's satirical.
I mean, but it was like, if you, with the way the picture is with
humor.
it.
Because it's
maybe.
A little morbid. It's drawing on some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
And I looked at it and I went, pfft.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
And he was like, I don't understand why it's funny. Like, he wasn't even like, oh, I don't find that laugh out loud funny. He didn't understand why it was funny.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm like, because they don't do it?
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because they want to say, but the Bible says, and he's like, the Bible says maybe more clearly than anything else. Love your neighbor, love God. Mm-hmm. Those are the things you're supposed to do. If you get nothing else from the Bible, those are the two things that you should do.
Right.
And he's like, he didn't think it was funny.
Oh, well, that's just so interesting. I'm paralyzed by this.
Yeah.
I just can't believe it.
That's all right. That's the tip of the iceberg. I would say
I can't wait to hear
often. I mean, I can't think of any more examples off the top of my head. But when he looks at me and is like, I don't understand the meme, But on the other hand, though, that he can say to me, I don't understand the meme, and feel comfortable enough for me to like, especially, instead of just pretending.
Especially because he knows he's the funny one.
Yeah.
Right? Of all of us, he knows he's the funniest.
Yeah.
And he knows that, so like...
He denies it, but he does know. Yes.
He does know. And so for him to not feel like a kind of a pride about that. Like I figured like that Friends episode when Chandler like gets all mad because Monica says he's so funny. He's the funniest person ever. And he's like,
yeah,
what?
Her
What?
coworker.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like, so like, but that's interesting because, you know, I would expect Josh to maybe even protect that a bit by always
like pretending to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but
good.
I appreciate the
he's a good
vulnerability.
person.
That's right. That's right. And I appreciate the vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Holmes, no. I'm confused. Hard to bleh. I'm trying to explain myself and I can't even do that properly. For the love of all that's good and holy. Oh. Okay. Though I do have to say, I didn't start carrying mace when I walk my dog because of true crime.
No.
No, it was because of the coyotes.
Yeah, well, and in Texas, that's a fair assessment, right? Like,
well, we went for a walk. The dog and I went for a walk, and it was pretty early in the morning, about 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I hear this really unnerving sort of barking and a whole lot of it by a number of animals. Now, I know that coyotes, the way they bark in such a way that it makes their group sound bigger. So it maybe wasn't as big of a group as it sounded.
Okay.
But it was more than 2.
Yeah.
And they were like on the other side of some houses in a green belt. And I'm like, I think I need mace.
Just in case one of them gets a wild hair.
Just in case. Because you never know.
I mean, the chances of the coyotes going after Ripley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because your dog's big.
Yeah.
Your dog's big.
She
And
is.
they don't like that. They like small, yippy little things.
Right.
Which I'm kind of like, well, just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I love all the small dogs. I don't want coyotes eating them.
No. But you also don't want a small dog in your house.
I don't want a small dog in my house. But yeah, I mean, they tend to go after smaller animals, which is why you do have to be careful.
Unattended animals as well. Yeah, because they can... Yeah, but it wasn't
because around here they're kind of small. The coyotes.
Yeah, they are.
They're actually pretty scrawny.
Yeah. They are. They're not large animals.
No, and they're a little yippy themselves.
The super yippy, super yippy. I mean, like they sound like slightly bigger than a Chihuahua.
I mean, just slightly.
But it's the way they bark so their group sounds bigger. Anyway.
And maybe there ought to be tier level laws about like, you know, if you're going to do if Netflix is going to do something with their broad base, they can tell you how many users they have and what they expect. Then at that level, they have to have permission. Maybe, you know, a true crime podcast that has so many listeners. Okay, if it's a crime involving a child or a sensitive, like some special victim kind of situation, then they have to get permission in that case for their level. If you don't have that many listeners, maybe you don't have to. Right. I don't know. Like maybe there's a solution there, but
to share that, actually, I was just reading, somebody had asked about Christian deconstruction and they said, well, you know, surely there must be deconstruction in other religions. And, you know, why don't I see that more? Am I just not looking in the right places? And somebody came back with actually deconstruction in other religions can be really dangerous. They can be sent to another country and have their passport taken away, or they can be murdered or completely ostracized from their community. So if they're deconstructing from a different religion, Reddit tends to be a good place for that. So if you have something you need to share anonymously, you get a little throwaway Reddit account. Share it and feel
better.
And feel better. Yeah. Oh, Oliver. Oliver's just such a mess. He went to his son and asked for money, and evidently this was not the first time.
Yeah, I had compassion.
Oh,
I did. I had compassion, and I was like, I felt like the son was being a little like difficult.
I have compassion for him, but he understands. The son understands that dad has an asset that he can utilize to make it so that his life is
I know. I guess
secure and whole.
that time comes. It's not as easy as you think. I mean,
No,
when he
but-
says that's all I have, like you're saying, hey, uproot where you've been your entire life.
I can see that.
Throw away the only last thing to your name. God, that's hard.
It's not throwing it away. It's selling it and having opportunity that doesn't require your son, who can't afford to live there, to support it.
I get it, but I am definitely no. Take care of your daddy.
Oh,
Take care of your daddy. Like, no, you don't. Getting old sucks to begin with.
Yeah, it does.
And you know what? Getting old and realizing you're aged out of what's considered cool now. You're aged out of so many opportunity, and all of this stuff. And maybe you do have this amazing asset, but like, let's see what the son says when he gets old and he can't afford to live in that house anymore. How's he going to feel about that deck he built? Watching his kids there, whatever. Like, getting rid of those things. I mean, you're investing in the next phase of life, but there is a significant loss and it's a downgrade.
Yeah.
You're saying you're lucky to be alive. Nobody wants to live like that. It's life support. Selling your home like that, it is a version of life support.
Okay.
Right? How many people want to live on life support? Well, you're alive. As if that's the only thing that matters, life or death.
Right.
Quality of life matters. And giving up your home that you've been in, giving up the last thing that you have kind of to your name, that you purchased, that you achieved, and all of that. I mean, that's why we try so hard to say plan in advance for those moves. Don't wait till it's too late, because the psychological preparation for I may need to sell this because it may not be proper on a fixed income or proper when I'm not working anymore or whatever. Preparing for that ahead of time can make you feel more like it's a better, okay, I'm moving to the next stage of life.
See, and I really understood that as son had that conversation already.
Maybe
I'm
so.
I'm going to bail you out. He had done it before. This was more money. This wasn't I'm strapped. This was more money. And he had the conversation of, you need to be preparing for this because I'm not going to be able to do this forever. And then, oh man.
I mean, sure. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I get it, but the roles do change.
Yeah.
And there comes a point where you're not dealing with practical, you're dealing with emotional.
Right. Yeah.
This is a man who doesn't want to stop working.
Yeah, and has been forced to.
But
okay, but if he's aged out of that job and can no longer support that, I mean, it sucks. And I can really empathize with it, but for the love of all that's good and holy, don't. It seemed to me like their dynamic was that if the son had offered to take out a loan to support Oliver would have let him do that.
Fine.
No.
Totally fine.
Nope.
If the son's willing, he wasn't willing. But
nope. This article in The Balance talking about financial planning and family finances by Miriam Caldwell specifically said, do not go into debt to support your parents.
Ooh.
Because you're perpetuating a cycle that is going to possibly continue. Because if you're going to go into debt to support your parents. Now, maybe you need to go into debt because they need particular living situation. They need assisted living or something like that. That might be a different situation. But in this case, going into debt to support a luxury lifestyle would not be recommended.
I disagree with her.
Oh, wow.
It's not that I can't see that there are reasons why you would not do that. If you can't afford to take a mortgage on your house, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Right? If you can't afford the debt, I mean, we're talking about affordable debt versus unaffordable debt. And if the means aren't there, the means aren't there.
Right.
That's fine. But I will say that, if we're okay paying the bill for the independent living, keep them in their own house if they're independent and living. How many years do you really have left? Let's talk about that.
Right.
Right? And you're just going to say that this is about money. No, it's not. It's about a person who is at the end of their life. And well, do you want him to come live with you? That's what's, are you offering these things? I mean, sure, it may be a luxury apartment. It may be, in his case, it's hard because it is luxury versus, but that is his home, nevertheless. And so I'm thinking, like, yeah, I think as kids, as our parents get older, we do kind of have to also think a little long term on their behalf to say, how are we going to feel?
Right.
How are we going to feel about this decision when they're gone? How are we going to feel if our decision to not support them actually perpetuates the idea that they can't survive and shortens their lifespan because they have no reason?
Right.
Older individuals who get kicked out of their home because they can't afford to live there do not have good prognoses unless there's a whole lot of support. And see, I don't see this kid offering a lot of extra. He had like a very, you're not trying hard enough, oh, you're just always trying to borrow money, And obviously I've only seen the one scene, so I don't know what else is going on. But I'm just saying that I think there has to be a lot more sensitivity to older people in our country. And this is not we are a very individualistic society. And we're just okay shoving our older people away.
Oh,
and it costs money to get old.
Yeah.
It costs money.
It does. But he has a really valuable asset that he could fund without asking his child to sacrifice their children's well-being.
Well, do we really know that he's sacrificing? I mean, we don't know what the kid's money situation is.
Well,
we don't know.
He had enough to be able to bail him out at least once.
Yeah.
But told him, I can't do it again.
I know, but he said it with ugliness. It wasn't, oh my God, Dad, I don't have it.
Yeah.
We're going to have to look at something else. I don't have it. I'm so sorry. If I had it, I'd help you, but I don't have it.
Yeah.
It was, I can't do it. I can't support this again. I can't support your little habit.
Right.
You ought to be doing this. You ought to be doing that. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like.
I feel like there's deeper dynamics at play.
Well, and there is. I think there is. And that's probably very, very true. But I think I'm very sensitive to the individualistic society that we have that says that we don't do for family. We don't sacrifice for family.
No.
Me and my first.
Oh.
And I'm like a little like, I agree there has to be boundaries.
Okay, so it's interesting that you say that, me and my first, and saying that the son is being unreasonable, whereas you don't see Oliver as being unreasonable because he's asking the son to put dad first.
Yeah, but he's the old man. You know how we kind of say that the roles reverse at some point?
Yeah.
They become the children, you become the parent.
Right.
This man is like in his mid to late 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, and so he gets to live in a luxury high-rise in downtown Manhattan that he can't afford?
It was always his home. I mean, you can't ignore always your home. It has been your home. It has been your life's work. I mean, if we're only talking about dollar signs, sure.
Yeah.
But that ignores all of the intrinsic value that is there. The psychic intrinsic value of having a career and knowing it's all over.
Right. Oh, that's fair.
It's all over. My dream of doing the next thing.
Right.
Nope. No more dream. No more work. I'm going to give up the apartment in the city where I can do the work.
Right.
Because I recognize now it's not ever going to happen again. So because it's not going to happen again, I'm going to give up the very thing that I lived in for all of these years and go somewhere else. To do what? Just wait to die?
Well, and I think maybe the gifts felt manipulative.
Oh, maybe so.
That was maybe because Oliver wrapped gifts for his grandchildren, and it didn't feel like he was giving gifts because he wanted to give gifts.
Maybe.
He was giving gifts because he wanted, as we see at the end of the episode, probably a very substantial amount of money.
Probably so.
Tens of thousands of dollars is probably what he's asking for.
Maybe so.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be, and it might not be possible.
Right.
But I'm saying there's a big difference between blaming the elderly and saying we can't do it anymore. Let's help you.
Right.
Let's make sure you're not going to just wait to die somewhere.
Right.
What can we do?
Well, and that's the Oliver's behavior is kind of what makes me think that maybe they have, because Oliver says it's all I have. And the son is like, oh, yeah, it makes me feel great, because obviously it seems like this kid has felt like second fiddle his entire life to dad's career.
Well, and that's why I say it's not about the money, is it? It is all about the emotion.
I mean,
he isn't going to support his dad. It has nothing to do with money or a practical asset of saying, you have this asset, this is what we need to do. See, it's emotional on both sides. There's nothing, because I think you're right. If the relationship was different and he didn't have the money,
right,
then he wouldn't have felt like he had to wrap gifts to try to go ask for help. Right? So it's not even about the practical from the son's side either. It's not really about some moral high principle, but we do that as humans. When we have an emotional response to something, we masquerade it as a moral crusade.
Right.
And it's really a preference and it's really an emotion. And it's really, so we say something high and mighty like, I'm not going to support that habit anymore. When what we really mean is, you drive me bananas and you were never there for me, so I'm not going to be there for you now.
Well, and I mean, maybe it's a mix of both, because here's the son building his own deck. Yeah. He's not paying somebody else to build a deck, and you kind of get the impression the reason he's not paying somebody else to build his deck is because really he can't afford it. And maybe that's a priority situation that I could afford to pay somebody, but then I wouldn't have money to save for my retirement or whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But it seems like Oliver has never been frugal, never been,
maybe not
cognizant with his money. He just always assumed that he would be able to work and spent lavishly, maybe even on that apartment.
Yeah.
In the first place, maybe it was too lavish an apartment for what he could really afford, but he assumed the work would always come, and it no longer did. And I can see where it's like, you're right. It is emotional on both sides.
It's emotional on both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw inside his apartment. You know what was there? The studio.
Yeah.
This isn't just selling his lavish apartment. This is actually selling the place that he works from.
Right.
This is selling his office. It's selling his studio.
Right. It's only a studio to begin with, though. Or not to begin with. It's only a studio after they decide to make this podcast that they're making.
Well, all the equipment had to be there.
No, it was not. It's maybe you haven't gotten there yet, but they talk about it in a subsequent episode that he's like, we have to hurry up and start working on stuff because I only have 30 days to return the equipment. Okay,
so he rented it.
He bought it and plans to return it. It wasn't his studio to begin with. It wasn't like he had all this equipment. Yeah, I mean, he probably works from his apartment. That's would be a normal thing for people for creative working on Broadway.
Well, and renting equipment's not abnormal either. Right. I mean, often you don't want to buy it. You want to rent it and then you take it back.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. They just rent the equipment for the time that they need and they take it back.
Yeah. So, yeah, but he wasn't renting it.
Well, I don't know that, I guess. Because I guess I don't know that. I don't know why he wouldn't.
He bought it because it's so that he could return it and get a full refund.
Okay. Well, that sucks. But I mean, I guess I'm just saying that, like, I agree. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he doesn't deserve it. I don't know.
Right. Well, and
maybe not. But I do think we have to be very careful about saying to older people that their life's work and their home are just assets.
And I can totally understand that. But if your parents come to you asking for help, you want to make sure if you're married that your spouse agrees. Consider extenuating circumstances. They do not recommend going into debt for this kind of things because it can be a perpetuating cycle, whereas you're supporting your parents with debt that you incurred, and that's going to require you to ask your children to support you, perhaps with additional debt, because then they're supporting their grandparents. It's really, how we think of how it quote unquote should go is that, your parents will pass down assets to you.
In this country.
Yes.
I would say this is a highly cultural assessment. Highly cultural.
Okay.
It is an American dream thing that our children are supposed to do better than us, and we're supposed to do enough so that we're not a burden on our children, and we can take care of ourselves and then pass along an inheritance. But the idea of parents coming and living with children and being taken care of by children in other cultures is not weird.
No, and I don't think that it's necessarily weird in this culture to have sort of that situation, multi-generational families. It's less common than in other cultures, but I don't think it's weird.
Yeah.
But I think about like when my father-in-law passed and how we were able to he was able to leave us some financial, he was able to take care of himself, which was great and, very helpful. And of course, if we would have moved heaven and earth if he'd needed us to do so, but it was a thing that when he first became ill, he was like, I really hope that I'll be able to leave you guys something and maybe even something for the kids, and so we were able to put a substantial amount of money from his estate into their college
But
savings
you said
accounts.
a key word. You'd have done anything.
Well, and yes, but I'd have done anything because he was incapable of doing it for himself.
It's true.
And he was ill. If it was just, I want to continue to live in a luxury apartment in New York City, I don't think I would have done that. I would have said, hey, you know what? There's options. There's options here. Or let me help you brainstorm some options that might keep you close to where you'd like to be, but are more within your budget. There's no way I would give $20,000 to somebody so that they could live in their New York apartment while I'm building my own deck.
Well, like I said before, though, if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Right. Oh, even if I did have it, even if I had the money, that would not be my priority.
Okay.
And it's not because I wouldn't welcome, we welcomed my father-in-law into our own home. It wasn't that we were unwilling to do that, but I wouldn't fund that kind of behavior. I would be like, especially not more than once. Maybe once, probably not, but maybe once, but not more than once. Because that's when you have the conversation of, look, I can do this for you this time.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be my priority a second time, whether there's the money there or
if
not.
he's in a luxury apartment.
Right.
So it's really just the fact that he has affluence that you feel like should be reallocated.
Right. Like he could care for himself and could take care of himself if he would be willing to give up some of that affluence.
Okay.
Just like if I could no longer afford the house I live in, we move to a different house. I mean, it would suck. I love my house. I love living here. I've lived here longer than I've literally lived anywhere else in my entire life. And I love my house. But if we could no longer afford the house, we would sell the house. It's a thing. And if I can have a better quality of life in a thing that's less nice, then maybe that's what has to happen. I wouldn't ask my kids to support
And I think
it.
that's the difference. I don't think most elderly who have been in the same place for as long as they have, there's no better quality of life.
Right. Well,
it's downhill from there.
Okay. So yes, but what's downhill from the Arconia can be still quite nice.
You're right. Not his home. Like, I do think we have to, I don't know. Like for me personally, I just feel like, sure, it's affluent, and he obviously made a lot of money. He also got in there like many, many years ago because Steve Martin's character says it.
Yeah.
We got in when this place was
28 years
cheap.
ago, yeah.
It was cheap. It wasn't that affluent way long ago. It was a normal place to go and a normal place to live. The fact that now it's become this place, they have the real estate. Think about it, he has no mortgage there anymore, really.
Right.
I mean, he's got condo fees, he's got bills, he's got all of that stuff. But taxes and stuff like that. But like really, they got in when it was, I mean, they said we got in when it was like normal. How are you affording to be here?
Right.
So they were in it 28 years ago when it was like easy. It became something of affluence later on.
I would say based on the decor of the apartment, the affluence was, it wasn't we ended up with in an affluent building by accident. It was we bought the building, it became affluent. We also maintained it to be affluent. There might be other assets that he could theoretically sell if he wants to stay in that. Okay, maybe I need to sell the very nice furniture and buy something less grand.
I know all the practical things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I get it. I get the practical things.
Right.
It is downhill from there.
Well,
yeah. I've done it. I've sold the house I can't afford. I've gotten rid of the things. I have not been able to take the things because I don't have the space.
Right.
So
and
maybe
sucks. It's not fun.
And if I was 76 years old and I knew that there was no like next part of life.
Yeah, that would be.
I've watched people go through that. And how demoralizing it is to recognize that you're at the end of your life. And maybe those things are technically affluent. Maybe they were luxury. It does not make it less valuable to you emotionally.
Right.
Than someone who had something modest that they love as well.
Right.
So I don't think it's right to have the compassion. Say if somebody was in a modest house and selling that wouldn't provide a whole lot, but they still have to sell it. I don't think it's okay to like say, oh, but that's her home because it's modest. And so like I approve of it. Versus somebody who maybe they did make a lot of money on Broadway and all of that and has these things. They have it. It's sunk cost. It's still the same couch he's been sitting on. It's still the same apartment he lived in. Like it's no less valuable to that individual just because it cost more.
Right. And
so the outcome is the same. The loss is the same for both.
Okay.
Right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
At all?
I understand that, but it seems like the person who has only a modest thing and has to get rid of it really doesn't have any opportunity. And here he has this affluent thing that it's going to not be fun to get rid of. But he could sell his affluent thing and still live a very comfortable life, even in the city, by saying, I'm going to go ahead and give up this thing. The season for this situation has passed, and I need to confront that.
Maybe so.
So, I mean, I can see both sides of it. It is a loss. And I feel for him, but I also feel like it was cruel for him to say, I have nothing else, to his child.
I get it,
who has bailed him out already.
I know, but I get it. I guess I get it. I just get it.
I get it, but like, if my parents told me, well, it's all I have, I'd be like, what do you mean it's all you have?
I know that it's insensitive.
Is the thing more important than me?
It's not the thing. That's what I'm saying. It's not the thing. It is the thing that represents his entire career. It's the thing that represents the only thing he contributed to the world. It's the thing. It's the only thing he has left. He doesn't have the theater anymore. He doesn't have. It's the only thing left from who he was as an individual in the world. And so that's kind of like I'm sensitive to that. Yeah. I'm sensitive to the death of dreams.
Yeah.
Of the death of individual, of achievement, so when he said, I know it's insensitive, you probably should be smarter and shouldn't say that to your family, but like I sympathize with the idea that like he's just trying to hold on to the only thing that made him. Or the only thing left that represents who he was. If that makes sense. I don't know, maybe I'm not describing it well.
Maybe it makes sense and I just don't agree.
Maybe so. That's fine.
Yeah.
You just don't feel like it should represent that, or
no? I feel like it's too much stock in a thing.
In his career.
No, it's too much stock in instead of finding a way to memorialize his career, which seems like it's maybe over and he's not really ready for it to be, but maybe instead of which later you'll see that it was maybe not a great career to begin with. He made a lot of really poor choices.
I can understand that.
And I mean, but it was his nonetheless. Find a way to memorialize that or remember that in ways that aren't going to, I don't know how I want to say it, that are not detrimental to the rest of your family.
Don't be a burden.
Yeah, and not that I don't even want him to be a burden, not, or that somebody shouldn't be a burden. If they have offered him, hey, come live with us. We live in New Jersey. It's just a ride away.
It is New Jersey.
It is.
let's that's not a good argument. It is New Jersey.
But, his son lives in New Jersey, and that's fine for
feel
him.
Bad for him.
Well,
New Jersey.
Maybe
going to New Jersey as a New Yorker is like, oh my God.
But he can hop on a train, still work. If he can get a job, then, get work. Maybe he can sublet a place or, or work his way back into it. If he can make some good choices in his, career, if he wants to rebuild, it just seems like saying that this represents my career. No, it doesn't. I mean, maybe it does to you, but that's not... Nobody else is going to look at that and understand that that was your career. If you want to memorialize your career, there's other ways to do that.
I'm not talking about memorializing it to others. It is not about what other people think.
Even to himself. Mm-hmm. He's putting so much stock in this thing. Mm. And it's just like, it seems like the things are there to serve you. And that maybe that means that they provide you emotional support and comfort and whatnot. But if it's causing you more issue than it is solving, then maybe it's not worth it anymore.
Maybe not.
But I can see both sides of it. I can. I understand.
I don't think you do.
No.
I think you're saying that to make me feel better because I don't agree.
I mean, and we don't have to agree on it.
I know.
But I can understand where somebody would feel that attached to a specific thing. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the thing is maybe not as important as the relationships. And he's damaging a relationship in order to retain the thing.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to cut a lot of that out.
Yeah, that's a lot.
A lot of that's going in the bonus area.
Yeah, that's a lot of extra.
All right. Home Alone. I was a preschool thief. I tell you a little story about that and why it turned out to be kind of okay. Old Man Marley was an American poet. We talk about how body hair preferences should actually be a preference for a person who has body hair and how we feel about all of that. And Jackie has some words for apples. Oh, I clearly remember stealing a chocolate from Kmart.
Oh my God.
It was a 5-cent chocolate that was by the cash register. And I don't think I really knew it was wrong, but I knew enough that it was wrong.
That you hid it?
That I went and hid around the end, and my mom got all mad at me, and we paid for it, and it was fine. I was a 5-cent candy. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I think I was 4. So,
I get away with things when you're 4.
Yeah. And I was pretty cute. I was little.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And my mom was, I remember that day because my mom was pretty happy with me that we were standing in line and a lady got mad at her child and took her flip-flop off and hit the kid across the face.
Ooh, a face?
Yes, with the flip-flop.
Yeah.
And I said loud enough, "Mommy, can we take that baby home? Because you would never do that to a baby." Oh my God. And I said it loud enough for the mom to hear. And so I was forgiven for stealing the chocolate because I shamed the abusive mom in public. And my mom was really happy with me. Wow. So she was happy to pay the 5 cents for the candy that I stole. Yeah. It was fine.
Wow. Across the face? I mean, it's one thing to be hit with a shoe,
on the diaper.
Yeah. But a small child across the face? No.
Yeah. Yes.
That's
my
not
mom
okay.
was shocked. And I'm like, now they would have called the police and changed that situation.
That's right. That's right.
At least taught her not to do it in public.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
don't know.
The chanclas thing. I mean, like you either hit them on the bum or you throw it across the room. You don't slap people in the face with it.
No.
Hello.
No.
Okay.
All right.
I want to see this picture. Robert Blossom. Oh my gosh. He was an American poet.
Who's Robert Blossom? What?
The guy who played the serial killer next door.
Oh, yeah. Old Man Marley.
Yeah. Old Man Marley.
Yeah, he died in like 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because this picture that they had on here was like, oh my gosh, look at that, like,
well, because
classic.
he started his career in like 1958.
Yeah. But he was also an American poet. That explains the countenance.
Yeah, why he's so like
That's
drawn
soft and that just very like sing-songy thing going on for like that grizzly old man thing, like all together. That explains it. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So,
did it do it? That wasn't
I don't
good enough.
know. I just
There it goes. I told my husband, I was like, I would prefer if women could just choose based on their preference. Where would they like to be clean? Where would they like to groom, and how would they like to groom?
Yeah,
you know, and
exactly.
yada yada. I think that would be far better. You know,
I agree, and I think it's kind of headed in that direction, which I'm very grateful for my kids.
Yeah.
So, because my youngest, who's a non-binary person, has chosen not to shave any of it.
Yeah.
I think they shaved their armpits once and decided it wasn't for them.
Yeah.
And that was fine.
Yeah.
And I've said, if you ever feel uncomfortable and want to shave, that's fine. If you would like to bleach the hair and make it a fun color, also fine.
Fine.
We can totally do that.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of okay with their body hair. And
I love
so
that.
glad. And me too.
I love that. I mean, I did do one thing. I stopped shaving above the knee.
Yeah. No,
I just did. And that was, so for, our generation, it was ankle to hip, right?
Yes.
And I stopped because I like it that way. That is my preference. That's my like, I'm going to have a goatee, or I'm going to have like a whatever. That's my version of it. I prefer it that way.
And even when I was younger, I rarely shaved above the knee.
No. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unless I was wearing like a really short skirt, I might do it then.
Yeah.
Just so that it was the same all the way up. But I mean, that hair is, at least on me, it's like blonde. It's blind.
It's
The
blind.
hair is
It's
the hair
blind.
can't see. Imagine that. It's blonde and pretty fine.
Yeah.
And so it's whatever.
Yeah, I think, and I didn't realize how much I hated shaving, because when I was younger, in dance, wearing tights, it gets itchy.
Yeah.
So you shave because it's itchy to wear the tights and the costumes or the leggings to dance in. So it was always for function.
So was it itchy because you'd shaved before? I wonder if it would have been itchy if you had not ever shaved your legs before, or if it would just feel normal.
Well, I can tell you now it's still itchy, because I've definitely gone times where I've just decided I'm not going to shave at all. And because I don't shave above the knee often, when I wear leggings,
Yeah, you can. Oh, okay.
I can feel it.
Okay.
I wouldn't, if I was dancing, I'd probably all the way. Probably go back to like a wax almost.
Yeah.
Like, and so it was always for function though.
Right.
Mentally though.
Right.
And then when I really stopped dancing and I really wasn't wearing tights, that's when it dawned on me that like, this is obnoxious. Like, why am I doing that?
this?
I mean, yeah, I have no purpose. I have no purpose to do this. Yeah. So
Yeah.
screw that. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna do it.
Whatever. I'm like all for do whatever you like. Like, I really don't care where people have hair or don't.
I mean, thank you. This is
and
where we need
really,
to go.
Buzz shouldn't have cared either.
That's right.
Let's be honest.
Boy, that was a tangent. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
Soapbox. Told you. I'm trying not to peek.
No, it's fine. Sorry.
No, because I want to be surprised. I want to know.
Oh. Okay. That's because I flipped the page too soon. All right.
And it's like, ugh.
Maybe he doesn't need to take it on.
Okay, I'm going to use this moment to say, Apple, you need to get on the ball. We need an iPad that has a desktop operating system. Like, I'm sorry, Microsoft kind of beat you to it with the Surface, and the Surface actually kind of sucks. So if you would just go ahead and like do it now and make the iPad Pro an actual desktop, and so that we can put that case on there with the keyboard, that would solve our problem.
Yeah, it would.
Please.
Yep. In our hometown crime episode at Christmas from 2021, we talk about the word nearish and how grateful we were that there was some coffee left for Jackie. We mentioned our homicidal maniacs and Von Dutch documentary and money laundering. We talk about that a little bit. There's like some wiggle room. So it's near-ish Christmas.
Near-ish. I like it. I think the term is fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you.
I coin it. It's now our term.
Okay.
Killer fun, near-ish.
Near-ish.
You heard it here today. Cheers.
Oh, I have to drink. It's just coffee. But
Yep.
I still have
delicious.
to drink it. The kid, my oldest, is already out of school.
Yeah.
He's done, has been home. So you're lucky because there was a full cup left for you when you got here.
He almost snagged it, didn't he?
He did. He was
Yeah.
like, ooh, coffee. And I'm like,
No!
you got to make sure there's enough for Jackie.
I will thank him later for allowing me to have the last cup.
Yay! Actually, homicidal maniacs flying all over the country, all over the United States. And this one's going in an envelope. He will be in the mail shortly.
Yay!
But
Aww.
yeah.
I feel like
Very
I need
fun.
to try. Do you see what I'm going to do here?
Oh, hang our homicidal maniac up there. Or you could put him around the star. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Adorable.
Adorable.
Super cute. There's
Probably somebody.
I watched an episode of The Curse of Van Dutch. It's on Hulu. I think it's a Hulu original. There's a whole bunch of people who've said that they created the Van Dutch clothing line that was real popular like in the early 2000s. What's her name? Paris Hilton.
Oh.
Wore it a bunch. She had like the trucker hat.
Yes,
It made the
yes.
trucker
Okay.
hats real popular. And,
Yeah.
you know, and then they had like,
Now I remember it.
yeah. And there was another brand by somebody else, and he ended up going to prison, but he'd started this other brand that was supposedly a precursor to Van Dutch.
Okay.
Or Von Dutch.
I was going to say
I
Vaughn.
I think it's Von Dutch now that I've said it like 16 times.
Yeah.
I think it's Von, VON, Von Dutch. But he'd started his other brand as a money laundering front.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So
you gotta wonder.
Yeah, clothing line, car wash.
Yeah.
You're
gonna be all Breaking Bad about it? Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Mm-hmm.
There was a restaurant in our little small town suburb, which I live in, that was empty all the time. And there was a big area at the back that it was like too big to be just the kitchen back there.
Okay. Yeah.
And we used to always laugh that it was a drug front.
Yeah. There's a place near us that when we first moved into the area, we were wondering too.
Yeah.
But then we just realized, no, it's just the awesomest hole in the wall place ever.
Oh.
And now we live there.
It can be an awesome hole in the wall place and be a drug front.
It
could be both.
This one's not, definitely.
This one's not.
But initial thoughts were like, that place. And then you walk in and you go, oh yeah, no, it's not.
Okay, good.
Because first of all, half the neighborhood's here. It's delicious, and no, it's awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
But so I'm glad it wasn't a drug fight.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to not lose your awesome taco place.
No, yeah, and it is. It's our awesome taco place.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Yummy.
I don't care. If you'd like to go first, that's fine. If you'd like me to go first, that's fine.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think you.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I think you.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know why, because I don't know what your story is.
Okay,
but
no, you have
that's
no
just-
idea. I tried to make it a little funny.
Okay.
Because it's a little funny.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
She loved Boston though.
No, yeah.
Because
well,
it would
yeah,
snow.
the snow. Yeah.
We had a house that was on a particular type of hill that the way the snow came, we had a drift that covered to the roof.
Wow.
Out our back door.
Wow.
And then because of the way the deck was built, it would just build up in there. So we'd have like 4 or 5 feet of snow and then it would drift on top of the house.
Wow.
And so to get out of the back door, we would have to open, the door and kind of slam into it a little bit just to make an opening. And then Angel would scurry out through that little opening and then dig and make little tunnels.
Oh, how fun.
And little
for your
igloos.
dog.
And so she had little igloos out there. And when everything melted, all that was left were the little igloos. Right?
Oh, how fun.
That she could go still lay in.
Oh.
Until it finally really melted.
Right.
Yeah. No. So she loved Boston.
That's cool. All right. Thanks for joining us for these outtakes. We know that you make a choice when you listen to us, and we really appreciate it. Be sure to tune in next time because we will have a fresh, brand new, all unheard episode ready for you, back to our usual sort of programming where we are going to talk about Stay Close, the adaptation of the Harlan Coben novel on Netflix. It is a wild ride, and there's so much to talk about, and we hope that you'll join us. Until next time, be safe, be kind, and wash your hands.
Da, da, da.